Honoring Charlie Kirk, President Trump fondly remembered the conservative firebrand and presented his widow Erika with a posthumous Medal of Freedom.
Charles James Kirk was a visionary and one of the greatest figures of his generation.
Plus, Hamas wasted no time bringing violence back to Gaza, publicly executing alleged Israeli collaborators. I'll tell you what President Trump had to say about it. And full of garbage, Magnet for Trouble actor Alec Baldwin is blaming a trash truck for a recent car crash he had this week. Those stories and more today, Wednesday, October 15th. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast. On what would have been his 32nd birthday, Charlie Kirk, the conservative influencer assassinated last month, was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It's the highest civilian honor awarded by the president. Here's what Trump had to say of his friend Charlie at the dedication.
We're here to honor and remember a fearless warrior for liberty, beloved leader who galvanized the next generation like nobody I've ever seen before, and an American patriot of the deepest conviction.
Kirk's widow, Erika, accepted the award by President Trump on her late husband's behalf. But the most touching moment of the ceremony came from the daughter that Kirk left behind when Erika read a birthday greeting she'd written.
Happy birthday, Daddy. I want to give you a stuffed animal. I want you to eat a cupcake with ice cream, and I want you to go have a birthday surprise. I love you.
President Trump is Time magazine's current cover star after ushering in that historic peace deal in the Middle East. And the president hates, and I mean hates, the photo. He's even accusing the magazine of purposefully using an unflattering picture, calling it the worst of all time. On Truth Social, he said, quote, "They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird." Okay. He is not wrong here. Let me paint you a picture. The photo was taken from this low angle looking up at the president. The sun is shining on what can only be classified in no other way than his thinning hair. I'm sorry, we have no time for vanity here. There's simply less hair there than there was in the 80s. It happens to the best of us. The angle gives the viewer this wonky close-up of his right ear, cheek, eye, and nostril. So, agreed, it is not particularly flattering. Now, as I said, the cover story concerns the president's success at negotiating the release of the 20 living Israeli hostages and is titled on the cover simply his triumph. The image, though, not so much. I'll put a link to the image in the show notes so you can gauge that for yourself. Now, infuriatingly, just hours after signing a peace treaty with Israel, Hamas turned their weapons inward, publicly executing Palestinian citizens that it says were, quote, criminals and collaborators with Israel. And just as I discussed on the podcast yesterday, this seems to confirm global concerns that the second phase of President Trump's peace plan, which includes disarming Hamas, is going to be even more difficult than negotiating the hostage return in phase one. And President Trump was, as you might imagine, not happy about the developments in Gaza.
And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. Now, he didn't elaborate on the how of that statement. The president also said that the terror group misrepresented how many dead hostages' bodies that they had in their possession after only 4 were handed over on Monday. New York Attorney General Letitia James, currently under federal indictment for bank fraud by the Department of Justice, cannot catch a break this month. Her niece, Nikia Thompson, who is living in the Norfolk, Virginia home at the center of James's indictment, is classified as a, quote, absconder in North Carolina for failing to finish her probation after reportedly assaulting a cop. Yes, I know that is a lot to unpack, so let me lay it all out for you. Nikia Thompson has been living in the Norfolk, Virginia residence in question with her 3 kids since 2020. As James said after her indictment, it's Nikia's primary residence, not hers. Back in 2011, court records show Thompson was convicted of 1 count of assault and battery and 1 count of second-degree trespass. She has similar assault charges from both 2005 and 2006 on her record as well. The Post's deputy managing editor, Michael Zenny, has been following this story, and he joins me now to dig a little deeper on it. Michael, fill us in on what we know about Nikia Thompson. Can you walk me through the details of her cases and how Did she come to be classified as an absconder, which is a fancy name for a fugitive and such a good word?
Yeah, so this is really someone who has been in trouble with the law her entire adult life.
A lot.
Yeah, so she was first charged in adult court, at least in 2006, when she was still a teenager, accused of resisting arrest and also theft. And then in 2011, she was once again charged with battery on a police officer and resisting arrest and other charges. She eventually pleaded that down, but she was on probation when authorities say she basically moved out of state to North Carolina. Because these charges are not high felonies, the local authorities in Winston-Salem, where she was convicted, are not going after her. But basically, if she steps foot in North Carolina, she's going to be arrested and have to serve serious jail time. But the other end of that story is that's not all. Since she moved to Virginia, she's been charged with numerous offenses all over the Commonwealth. A lot of traffic infractions, but also things like possession of burglary tools and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Many of these charges were ultimately dismissed, but she is continuing to sort of stay in trouble and on police radar.
Yeah, it just seems at the very least in the crosshairs of law enforcement is at least what I'm getting here. So do we have a reaction from Letitia James to all of this after it became public?
Yeah, so she hasn't specifically addressed her grandniece, but she's very much denied and she's counterpunching, which seems to be her strategy for these cases since it first came to light with the initial referral back in April. She said she did nothing wrong. And her story is basically that she was merely trying to look after a family member. That was her story when another property of hers in Virginia was also in the spotlight, that she basically was trying to help out a niece. And then as far as counterpunching, her lawyer called the charges, which were brought by one of President Trump's handpicked U.S. attorneys, tremendous breaches of the public's trust.
You know, James made her first public appearance since the indictment on Tuesday. And in light of all of that, we also have, I guess the best way to put it is muddying the waters of this information about the niece that is kind of central to the indictment because she's living in the house in question that is apparently at the center of this fraud. So it does just kind of become messy, right?
Yeah, and I think that what James has been doing, especially appearing alongside, so her first appearance was at actually a political rally for New York's frontrunner Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani, and she basically used the charges to say, look, I am a powerful voice who went after the people in power, in this case, President Trump, with the massive lawsuits that she filed against the Trump organization. And now they're trying to silence the truth, quote, silence the truth and punish dissent and weaponize justice for political gain. Those were her exact words. So she's really sort of turning the charges into a political argument, which, is also what kind of got us here in the first place, because President Trump has said the same thing about her pursuit of him and his firm.
For two people who don't seem to like each other very much or have a lot in common, they do seem to be sort of mirroring the same rhetoric in, two different sides to the same coin there. Our Michael Zenny, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
The Supreme Court's new term is officially underway, and SCOTUS has already offered their first high-profile rejection. the appeal of conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. The disgraced radio host was fighting a $1.4 billion judgment against him for repeatedly calling the 2012 Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax. Now, Jones argued that the judge in that case was wrong to find him liable for defamation and infliction of emotional distress on the families of the victims without holding a trial on the merits of those families' allegations against him. These are the people whose 5- and 6-year-olds were gunned down in grade school. Now, Jones filed for bankruptcy in 2022, and his lawyers told the justices that, quote, the plaintiffs have no possible hope of collecting the judgment. But whether or not you can pay a judgment doesn't just automatically erase it. That isn't the way lawsuits work. Now, part of the money Jones will have to pony up will come from the sale of his InfoWars assets. Now, that sale is currently winding its way through the courts. On top of that, some of his personal property is being liquidated as part of his bankruptcy case. Alec Baldwin. He's a well-known magnet for trouble. We have covered all of it extensively here at The Post, but his latest drama might not be his fault. I know. Buckle up, literally. The 30 Rock star was in the affluent vacation enclave of the Hamptons on Long Island on Monday, and he rammed his Range Rover into a tree. Bear in mind that the tri-state area in the Northeast has been dealing with a nor'easter, so the road conditions were probably not stellar. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and authorities have opted not to charge Baldwin with anything, blaming slick roads for the incident. But there might be more to it. Allegedly, a garbage truck cut Baldwin off, and it's that, combined with the wet roads, that might have sent the Range Rover off-roading. The truck's dashcam video obtained by Newsmax seems to show this truck roll through a right turn before slowing on the shoulder of the road. That's when it captures Baldwin's SUV plowing into the tree. Nation Waste Services, the truck's owner, declined to comment when the Post reached out. And finally today, bird poop, because why not? Have you ever gotten in your car in the morning and it looks more like a Jackson Pollock painting than a Honda? As if the neighborhood birds all went to Taco Bell together and then set up shop above your moonroof. Meanwhile, car parked next to you, squeaky clean. Well, a new survey? I'm not sure. But it found that your truck or sedan may, in fact, have been foully targeted. Yep. Apparently the birds are going after not just the color of your car, but even the make and model. Allen's Factory Outlet, a company that sells carports and garages, conducted this survey that found brown cars and Ram trucks are the biggest target for avian number 2s. The company asked 1,000 vehicle owners to report on local bird behavior and their parking habits, and I guess some pooping habits. When it comes to color, birds seem to prefer, or I guess hate, brown, red, and black. Lighter colors seemed to fare better. As for brands, Ram, Jeep, and Chevrolet got pooped on the most. Audi, Ford, and Subaru were safer bets. To be fair, many of the vehicles that did the worst in the survey were pickup trucks, which of course offer a lot more surface area. I could barely get through that without cracking up laughing. First of all, why was this survey done? I don't care. I love it. And picturing a flock of pigeons getting together to discuss the brown Ram truck around the corner that they're going to carpet bomb with duties, I cannot. Now that I have told you this, I need you to keep your eyes peeled in your neighborhood to see if it's true. And before you go out there to do that, don't forget, like and follow the New York Postcast wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'll see you tomorrow.